Well, Savannah, welcome.
Hi.
It's nice to see you.
You as well.
Thank you for being willing to partake in this interview.
Mhm.
And now that you are shortly becoming a certified professional coach, I wanted to get your feedback, really to help understand how the entire program impacted you, what you liked about it, how things have changed.
Mhm.
How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
All right. So I have a couple of questions for you, and just be yourself, just
Mhm.
relax as you usually are. So here's the first one. What first caught your attention about becoming a certified coach through Imagine Coaching Academy?
Yeah, so I think something that was really prevalent to me before I started coaching was the fact that a lot of people were becoming coaches. And at first, I thought it was just something that everybody said they did. But then when I started to look more into it, I realized that it was really a way that you could help people get to this goal and move them forward in processes. So I'm a graphic designer, and a lot of what I do unintentionally is coaching, but I just wasn't certified in it. So when I thought about adding more services to what I could provide to my clients, I really wanted to provide some sort of strategy coaching option. I just didn't know how to do that. So when you approached me about Imagine Coaching Academy, I was really excited for this idea and it seemed very doable. And that's what I liked about it. I didn't have all this extra time to devote, but it wasn't difficult to do, and we can talk more about that later,
Sure.
but I really felt that it was a manageable program so that way I could do this, and I've already been able to implement it into my everyday kind of work, and now I'm gonna be offering it as a service. So for me, I wanted to just help my clients even more in this other aspect.
It's interesting because when you think of coaching, you don't necessarily connect a graphic designer
Mhm.
to coaching, a branding expert. And it's been interesting listening to your stories and how different things have inspired you to do more and
Mhm.
take more risks. So I really enjoyed that. So what else caught your attention about being a certified coach?
Yeah, I think initially that was what caught my attention was just seeing so many people do it, but realizing how beneficial it was. But then once I got into the program, what really caught my attention was just the fact that this works. I think that was kind of
It actually works.
it actually works. So for me, that's what kept me more engaged because what I thought coaching was, or like I thought it was more consulting, kind of guiding them along this path, but it's not.
Mhm.
It's not consulting or advice giving, it's more walking them towards this goal. And once I got into it, that really hooked me in as well because I see how I can use that with my clients and people in my family too. I can coach them, they don't even know. But I think that's what then once I started the program, I found just the thought process, learning to listen more intentionally, helping them just think through what they wanna say. For me, in branding, when I'm building a brand for a client, the biggest thing is them having to reiterate what is in their mind, and a lot of times it's very hard for them. So with what's good about coaching and what I think the biggest benefit has been for me is I can coach them through that process. How can they get to what they wanna say without me feeding them what I think they wanna say? So that I think for me, I've already seen it translate.
Yeah, and you bring up the idea of walking with someone. So you're not pushing them in the direction, you're not trying to persuade them, you're literally walking with them. And that's one of the things that we learn in coaching.
Mhm.
Okay, that's good. Here's our next question. Before joining, what was happening in your life or work that made you start searching for a coach training program?
So at my job, there was I have my own business and I also work full time. At my job, there was a lot of changes, and in my business, I was really trying to expand my reach. So I was looking for ways to be able to, like I mentioned earlier, add more services to what I do and also add more depth to what I did. So, having that strategy, being able to walk a client through a process, especially when it's building a brand, talking about their vision and mission and goals, that became really vital for me to find a coaching academy that helped me learn those things to then implement. And so, what I liked about Imagine Coaching Academy was the fact that it was really easy to get started. I didn't feel like it was difficult. I didn't have to do all these things. And then plus with the module setup, for me, I love seeing like a completed to-do list. And that's what it gave me. But I was able to do it on my own time. A lot of times I listened to it or was able to just do it on my free time. And it didn't feel so time consuming. And then when we had live Zoom calls, what I enjoyed about that was I put it into practice. So I was hearing it, understanding it, and then I was seeing it put into practice.
And I remember you mentioning it on at least one occasion how you didn't feel the program was overwhelming.
Mhm.
And obviously, you had to plan, we give you a schedule and
Mhm.
everything, but you were able to get through it without having this sense of overwhelm,
Yes.
even though you have your own business and you work full time.
Yes, and
Hey,
I
it's good.
also felt that, even when I got behind on the videos, it was very easy to catch up. So even if I felt, "Oh, man, I didn't have time this week to listen," catching up wasn't hard. I also listened to you on double speed, so that might be a reason.
1.5. I am not offended. That's all right. That's good. All right. What was the single biggest problem or challenge, either one, our certified coach program helped you solve?
I think for me, it goes back to being able to walk with my clients better. That was something that not so much struggling, but there was definitely tension in that. There was sometimes for me, I was like, I don't know how to help this client move forward. And like I mentioned, I didn't want to feed them what I thought they meant and then distract them. But how do I help them come to this realization? And that's been the biggest thing that the coaching program has helped me with personally, like in helping someone else. So, like how I've taken my skills as a coach to help someone.
Sure.
But for me, actually, what's been beneficial personally is in our coaching program, we do peer-to-peer coaching where we can use real life scenarios or made up scenarios and we're practicing coaching each other.
Mhm.
Well, I don't like doing made up scenarios. I do real
The
scenarios,
real thing.
real thing. And most of the time they've been about my business. But every time I do them, they actually help me. So, for instance, an example, I was coaching with somebody early on. This is our first peer coaching, first or second peer coaching. I talk about the need for me to just expand my reach and I talk about a newsletter. And I've been talking about this newsletter and my peer coach tells me, "Hey, like you said you've been thinking about this." And I'm like, "You're right." And it made me feel like I have to do it. So I did it. And what do you know? I got a client out of it. And I did that in that moment because I experienced it. That's why I'm like, this works. And so I think for me personally, not only me learning the skills to be a coach, but also being coached by others who are learning in the program too, these student coaches, has been really beneficial for me because it's helped my own business grow and expand. I'm kind of using it.
And it's exciting because when you realize, okay, you're learning a skill, and not only does it help others, but it helps you in the process.
Mhm.
And you're asking yourself the question, okay, what's really holding me back? And then if someone is coaching you and they're calling you out and say, hey, you've been thinking about this for how many months now?
Mhm.
What's holding you back? What's the issue?
Mhm.
What's getting in the way? And you realize, well, it's just me.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that's being an obstacle. So let me put an action plan together, and then the coach walks with you through that process.
Well, and I think what's unique about specifically being in the coaching program is you are being exposed to a lot of different coaching styles because all of us, like I'm a student coach and the rest of my cohort of student coaches, we all have different styles. So I think it's really beneficial for me because I'm like, well, I like this style, I like that style. And you learn, not only you learn from each other, but then me as the client in these fake scenarios, I can see these different styles, how they would appeal to certain people. And so I really like that aspect that you do get exposed to different like, how people do it differently.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and in the real scenarios, that's where it kinda comes full circle, and then you realize, "Okay, this can actually help me. I can do this," and then it
Mhm.
inspires you to keep going. So,
Exactly.
okay. Anything else that you found as a challenge before you started the program that maybe becoming a certified coach has helped you to work through?
Mhm. Um, I think as I mentioned, it was more about my coaching sessions being the client that have benefited my business personally and other aspects of my life that I've brought up in these conversations
Sure.
and these coaching sessions. So I think for me that's been really cool because it has I feel like I have been getting coached as well along through this, even though it's student coaching and it's a different level. But I do feel that that's been very helpful for me in a lot of different aspects because I've been able to bring up tons of different topics and have lots of different perspectives on it,
Yeah.
and I really enjoyed that
Okay.
aspect.
So, if you hadn't taken this step
Mm.
to becoming a certified coach, where do you think you'd be now if you hadn't taken that step?
Well, it's funny because this earlier I've had my business now for 3 years. But I was kind of coasting on just not really I wanted to help my clients, but on my own personal brand, I definitely took a back seat. And so this year I kind of was like, no, I have to do this. At the same time, I started the coaching cohort. So it was perfect timing because I really don't think I would have pushed myself into a lot of different avenues. This setup is for my interview series that I've been working on. I don't think I would have gotten to this point if it wasn't for this coaching program of others supporting you. And so what it makes me think of is I can do that for others, right? I could be a coach that supports people through their different things
Yeah.
and gets to a point like this where you see the value and you see the work that you've put in. So really, I don't think I'd have tried so many things if it wasn't for being coached on
Yeah.
them and kind of actually saying them out loud, not just to you or to like my husband,
Right.
but actually to somebody who's an outside perspective
Right.
on what to do.
Right. And it's really neat because you start listening to someone else and then you're listening to yourself as you're
Mhm.
speaking these things out loud. And then you realize, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
And here's an action plan. It's something that you as a
Mhm.
client create with the coach and their help. But obviously you realize this is doable.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, and there's different reasons,
Mhm.
we haven't done it before, or we've been coasting, as you said before.
Mhm.
Well, now I have the support. I
Mhm.
know I can follow up. I know they're going to cheer me on to do this, and it's really, really good.
Well, I have an example. So one of the student coaches that I spoke about my social media presence, I wanted to build my social media presence. I was talking to him about ideas and I ended up producing it and doing it, right? And his daughter later tells me because I work with his daughter tells me that he was on social media, saw the post that I did that we had a conversation about and was like, "Oh my gosh, she did it."
She did it.
And so I think that's like the joy of coaching is seeing your client actually do what you discuss, and then you're also so proud because you were able to help them get there. So and for me it was cool because I'm like he was supporting me and it helped me stay accountable. It gave me accountability. So I thought that was a really cool moment. It was like he did it.
And it's key because if you don't have accountability, you tend to hold back or you tend to
Mhm.
not start. And but if you have someone who's there walking with you,
Yeah.
you have the confidence to do this. So let me ask a different type of question. What hesitations or doubts did you have before joining and how were they resolved?
So I think the biggest hesitation I had was the time. I was I have a full schedule. I have a lot of evening commitments and I was very worried that it would be another overwhelming commitment and that I would have to stop midway. I've started other programs before that I start, it feels too overwhelming and I end up giving up. I think what made this different was that the live classes weren't weekly. So I had time to catch up on my videos and things like that. But then since we were having these bi-weekly classes, then I felt that it was enough time in between to kind of get my stuff together
Mhm.
and also be accountable. Past programs I've done, not specifically coaching, but other kind of business programs that I've done. Um, what's been the challenge for me is that it's one or the other. It's all live or it's all hands on yourself. And I like the combo of both because when it's all live, I get burnt out and it's too much. And when it's all on my own, I end up giving up. But what I liked about this and how this helped me was that it's both. You have your stuff that's on your own, but then you meet with the live class and the group really does encourage you. So I think
Sure.
for me, my biggest hesitation going in was more the time commitment. And then once I was in it, realizing that it really wasn't that intense. Like if I dedicated an hour a week, that was actually a lot. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah.
you can watch the videos, your
Mhm.
self-directed videos, and then on the first and third Monday or the second, fourth
Mhm.
Monday when we meet, okay, you can go ahead and participate in the live classes. And then the intensive, of course, is a one-time thing.
Exactly.
It's a 2-day intensive. It's designed to inspire, give you things like a fire hose. You're drinking out of a fire hose, but then you're ready and you know what's coming up.
Mhm.
Now, as you think about the whole experience, but particularly in the beginning, because a lot of people have these ideas of overwhelm. Oh, I
Mhm.
can never do this. It's too much. I have a full-time job. I have children. I have dogs, different
My children.
your children. So as you think about this, at what moment did you feel, okay, this is it. I'm ready to become a certified coach. This is my next step.
Like, what before I joined the program?
Yeah, before you joined the program.
Um, I think it was really the kickoff of the new year. I mentioned to you earlier that I really wanted to focus on my business, and I felt that this was a nice complement to what I was already trying to do. And then once I was able to talk to you more about the curriculum and the how it would all work, and plus you sent us a document with, like, all the dates, and I could
Mm,
plan it all out, and I already knew, and you mentioned makeup dates, so once I was able to see that there was flexibility in the program,
sure.
that eased me a lot into being like, "Okay, I can do this. This is manageable." So I think that was the biggest thing for me was, like, I already knew the dates so ahead of time, and plus there was flexibility. If I missed one, there was makeups, so
Yeah.
I
And
like that.
and I noticed that with other students where we have the calendar, but things come up.
Yeah.
You have family, you have work, travel, different things come up. And so others have had to come back and do a makeup day,
Mhm.
and that's fine. And that's part of the overwhelm, right? Oh, if there's no makeup day, then I have to stick to the schedule. And if
Mhm.
I miss one, then I have to wait until next year to make it up.
Yeah.
No, that's not the
Well,
case
and I think
at all.
what makes this program different as well is the fact that it's personal. You're very easy to contact. I felt that I had support from the other, like, individuals within the program, so I felt that there was a personal aspect, like, I wasn't there wasn't some random person that I had to talk to, so a secretary of a secretary of a secretary. I was able to just email you if I had
Mm,
questions or call you, so I liked that aspect of it.
okay, that's really good. Then I think you already answered my next question, so I'm not even going to ask it. But here's another one. It's a little different. How has becoming a certified coach helped you to, let me repeat the question. How has becoming a certified coach helped you to empower others better?
Yeah, I think it's really made me I would say I felt like I was a pretty good listener before, but I think it's made me a much more intentional listener. And then kind of learning when to keep my mouth shut about stuff and just let them process it or ask maybe a question that helps them dig a little deeper. So I feel like because I've become a better listener and more intentional with how I listen and ask questions, it's helped me empower others that I meet with. Whether I and even our peer coaching, some of my peer coaches have brought issues up that are very deep and intense. And even though we're in a mock setting, it's still a real scenario.
Sure.
And I've been able to see how really just proper listening and engaging and making sure it's about them, right? We talk about in the program, it's not about the what, it's about who. Like
Mhm.
it's about them, like not
Sure.
the situation that's overcoming or overwhelming them. So I think in that aspect, I've been able to see how just this intentional listening and asking these questions in a way that can just help them get to what they're trying to say has really I've seen them be empowered because of it. Even just in this peer coaching era, which is like, it's kind of a facilitated thing,
Sure.
but I can definitely see how that would benefit me like once I start utilizing this in real world situations.
And that's good because oftentimes, as we talk about in the program, we don't give people enough space.
Mhm.
We don't give them the space to process, the space to reflect on their own ideas. And we're often quick to respond and
Mhm.
ask another question
Or give advice.
or give advice. There we go. We put on our advisor hat or a consultant hat or our
Mhm.
teacher hat.
Yeah.
And I remember early in the program, one of the student coaches, she was fantastic of giving advice and encouraging people. And we told her, you're working too hard. Part of this is learning how to listen better,
Mhm.
more effectively, more intentionally. And as you do that, interestingly enough, you empower others
Mhm.
because you're giving them what they need to process and think through this on their own. And you're walking with them. So I like that. I think that's really good. Now, you answered one of these already. You said becoming a certified coach has helped me, and you talked about a couple things personally and professionally. So I'm not even going to ask that question. I'm going to keep going. Of the three parts of our program, as we mentioned, there's the 2-day intensive, live intensive. We have the self-directed video study, and then we have twice a month we get together and we have our live coaching sessions. And some of that may be modified a little bit in the future
Mhm.
for other cohorts. But out of these three, which of these stood out to you the most? Which one did you enjoy the most, if I could ask that
Mm.
question?
Yeah. I think they're each of them are different. I think a part of me, so I had to do some college on Zoom, and, sometimes there's a point where you just zone out because
Zoom out.
and you zoom out because it's difficult to
Sure.
stay engaged. So I think at first, I was more hesitant for the in-person, or sorry, the Zoom meetings, because they were a bit longer and I wasn't sure, but it was engaging because it was a smaller group. It wasn't our whole cohort, it was smaller. And you're coaching each other. So you're timed, you're there, and you get feedback from multiple people, not just that one person. And from you, the headmaster coach. But you get more feedback, and so I did enjoy those, but I think in all of this, my favorite, I can't remember if this was the 3rd, but my favorite aspect has been the peer coaching.
The peer coaching.
Just meeting with my coaches, like the other coaches, and just helping each other, I think that has been my favorite aspect, selfishly because it's helped me, but also because you are just learning
Sure.
from each other, and it's cool to see your styles in there, and you really get to learn more about each other in that aspect. So I would say that that was my favorite portion, because of that, learning about just how different people have different styles.
And what I like about that is really when we go from the intensives and we're talking about in this case, life coaching or executive coaching or
Mhm,
marriage coaching, depending on which intensive you take. And then we go into the self directed study, which is, like you said, more on your free time.
mhm,
You're doing this on your lunch hour, different things like that. And then we go into the live sessions. And part of the live sessions is you have the peer coach, the peer coaching, the peer learning. And and I've heard some really good feedback from the students, but it's funny because you said, well, it not only helped them, but it helped you in the
mhm.
process as well. Now, and you already alluded to this earlier, but what do you think for those that are watching, what do you think is the biggest benefit of a hybrid learning model where we
Mhm.
have some things live, some things are asynchronous? What would you say is the biggest benefit to somebody considering this program?
I think the biggest benefit is, one, that you can do a lot of it on your own time. So you can batch a lot of it, you can listen to it. It's not something you have to sit, watch, and interact with in terms of the self-paced section, like the
Mhm.
self-study. I like that you can just do it at your own pace. I also, what I like about the Zoom sessions is the fact that it keeps me accountable to actually do the self-study, especially in the beginning before we started coaching, when it was more learning about the content and what coaching was, and learning all these different things that we should do as coaches. Listening to it and then going to the Zoom class and learning about it was definitely very helpful, because then we would do activities around what I should have watched. So if I didn't watch it, it kept me accountable. But I really liked that aspect of it. It felt flexible to me because it wasn't, I didn't have to do something on a certain date besides the Zooms, which I knew ahead of time, but it didn't feel overwhelming in that sense. And so I think, that's why I really like this model, because of it felt more balanced and not so overwhelming.
And that's really interesting because I think so many times, you said this earlier, we start something, but then it becomes overwhelming and then we quit and then oh, I lost money here, I did this. But
Mhm,
in reality, if you know you can start something and you can finish it, obviously it takes effort. You're not going to coast through this
mhm.
and get everything done 2 weeks before the program is
Yeah.
over. You have to schedule yourself. We give you a student worksheet to follow as a guide,
Mhm.
but you don't have to follow that to the T. You can mix it up a little bit, and like you said, you can actually batch certain things at certain
Well,
times.
and the benefit also of the cohort is that it's not this random community. I've been a part of other module type things, and they tell you where the like collaboration is, and is in this community portal, or you message, and it's kind of like a Facebook, right? You update statuses and things like that. But to me, it's so impersonal. So having the cohort, I really enjoy, because you're all kind of going through it together. Like, it takes me back to like college, and like you're all in the same hard class together, figuring it out. But so I think I really enjoy that aspect. Is not some people I'm never gonna meet or never know. It's like I'm actually seeing them on Zoom, not
Yeah.
just a message board.
Yeah, you're building a relationship with them over
Mhm.
time, so that's encouraging. What would you say would be a top learning experience? So what's something that you've learned that's
Mhm.
been really helpful for you in this coach training program?
I think that the way, like, at least the ICF lays out how and why we ask the questions we do has been interesting, because there's an aspect of ethics in there, morals. There's also like your it's really more sensitive than I thought it would be.
Mhm.
I thought coaching was, anybody could do it, but it is a lot more. There's a lot more thought behind it, and I think that's been a big takeaway for me because we have to ask, especially in the beginning, certain questions about confidentiality and making sure that they know like this is a safe space and all that. So I almost like sometimes feel like a therapist, but it's not that. And so coaching's not
We know.
therapy.
We
We
know
so
it's not.
but I think for me that's been the takeaway is that there is a lot of intention behind why we ask the questions we do. It's not just let's ask to get to your goal. It's like we're learning about the who ultimately, who they are, why they feel the way they feel, why this is important to them. And I like that aspect of it. And I think that's been something that's been interesting to learn about. And I think one of the bigger takeaways from
Okay.
this.
And as we look at this, there are other coaching programs obviously available for people to take. And one of the things I wanted to do with this one in particular was to help people understand that coaching is a skill.
Mhm.
You can learn the skill. We have a standard of ethics that we go by as coaches. We always consider the client. And when we become an obstacle, we let the client know we're not going to continue because we're getting in the way.
Yeah.
We may have a bias or we may have something else or there's a conflict of interest. So the ethics is a significant part of it because we're coaching people on a higher level,
Mhm.
the highest industry standard, which is through the ICF.
Mhm.
What's one thing? Here's a fun question. What's one thing about the certified coach experience that surprised you?
That surprised me. You see, good questions like that. That surprised me. Hmm. I think I guess, like, once I saw it all come to play. So the way this program started out was it was self-study first, right? You go through these videos. I knew what we were talking about. And then once we had the couple of Zooms, it was more educational, right? Building this foundation. But it wasn't until I started coaching myself that I was like, oh, this is what it is. Like this is coaching. So I think just like understanding what coaching was for myself I think was something that surprised me because I really did think I knew what it was.
Right.
And from the outside looking in, it's like, I'm like, "Oh, like, they're just it's like therapy, it's like counseling," like, but it's not, it is different, and I think someone said it in our cohort because they were taken aback that they said something and they were seeking advice, but we are not to give advice,
That's right.
and so I think something like that, like, understanding what coaching was, it's like, it's not advice giving because I also was like, "Oh, I have to be an expert in all these things." I don't. I just have to ask good questions. So I think that was something, like, once I actually started applying it, implementing the things I was learning, that's when I was like, "Oh, this is coaching."
And when I look back, I think it took us about 3 cohorts, 3 modules to get through. And then I think people started realizing, oh, I'm not a consultant,
Yeah.
not a therapist, I'm not an advisor, I'm
Mhm.
not a teacher. And then, but you're right, once they started coaching,
Mhm.
then they realized, okay, this is the process that
Yeah.
we're going to follow. And that was really helpful. What would you say is possible now as a result of your coach training experience?
I can definitely see myself using this not only in my business for my services, like I've mentioned earlier, like with my clients or potential clients, but I can see how I could use this also in more of like a outreach kind of aspect as well. What I mean by that is being able something that I'd like to do is go to different schools and organizations to help them with branding. But a part of that is coaching. And so I could see myself going out to these schools and companies and organizations and coaching their team on how to use their brand.
Sure.
So it kind of extends my maybe individual service. It's this is kind of me thinking long term about my business, which coaching has helped me do. And so but thinking long term about my business where I see myself, I could see myself going in there and coaching a team to
Okay.
how can they do this. So I think that's been something that I can see myself do now because of coaching.
Okay. And in the coaching process, so much of what we do is walk with clients to help them envision
Mhm.
a session goal in the individual session, the overall goal, and what's possible. So that I find that quite interesting. Why do you believe if someone's on the fence and they're asking the question, well, I'll do this in 10 years, what would you say to them as an encouragement to consider becoming a certified coach now rather than 5 years from now or sometime in the future?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I'd have to say is that it doesn't take that much of your time. And it's an investment that will help you in 5 to 10 years rather than waiting 5 to 10 years to do it. I think it's beneficial starting now because the actual program is like 6 months of I say intense. It's 6 months of work, and then the last couple months are just getting more of these things that to be certified, right? But
Right.
it's not really as structured as the beginning. It's more self-study. So I would say to somebody who's hesitant to start or waiting, pushing it off, to just do it. It's really something that you can start implementing right away. And I think it's like we all want the like immediate gratification and it kind of gives you that because you learn about it and you can start implementing it and you do get help along the way as well. So I think it'll clarify some of your future goals.
That's good. If you could sum up your certified coach journey in one word, phrase, or sentence, what would it be?
Mm. If I was thinking of a word, the first word that comes to my head is unexpected. I think it was unexpected. Um, but now just I'm very happy I did it. I'm very happy that I ended up doing it. So I know it's more than one, but unexpected would be the word.
Unexpected. Okay.
Unexpected.
Unexpected. But you're glad that you went through the process
Yes.
and you're finishing this month. So
Yes.
that's great. So somebody's watching right now and they've listened to what you've said before. What final challenge would you give them to really consider become a certified coach?
I would say to them, if you're really considering becoming a certified coach, um, I would like do your research, right? Look into what you can do as a coach and you'll be surprised, I think, to know there's so much you can do. In your industry, outside your industry, whether you serve like in a community, there's so many aspects that it doesn't just help you professionally, but it also helps you personally. So I think it's if I were to give you the person watching, but if I were to give you some advice, it would be that this doesn't only help your professional growth, but also your personal growth.
Thank you, Savvy, for taking some time just to share with us a little bit about your experience with the coach training program.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
All right.